the real questions.
Okay.
One might ask, what is a real question?
One might.
One did.
And the first time I presented this talk, which this lady attended, was when the definition wasn't even written yet. It was presented by context. For example, if someone asks, is there a God, and did God really create all this? Those are not real questions. Because if you look at the first sentence of Genesis, Bereshit bara Elohim, or in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth, the questions are already answered before you can even ask them. By contrast, the first question in my book of real questions is, what was before the beginning? The beginning in scientific terms might be labeled the Big Bang. In biblical terms, it might be termed Genesis, because of that first sentence, Bereshit bara Elohim, in the beginning. But my question asks, what about the moment before? What was going on? Science doesn't touch it. Religion doesn't touch it. But if you look at American English, and people who answer that question sometimes just firing from the hip without thinking, because that's the only place the answer can be found, past the mind. You have to go higher than the mind, into the heavens, to get the answer. And those people who just fire from the hip without thinking, unconsciously, without them even knowing it, that's what they're doing. So I ask some people, what was before the beginning? And they'll fire right from the hip. Nothing. And I go, bingo, ding, 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 right answer. But you have to understand what nothing is. That's where it becomes important to be raised in American English. German and Spanish will not do it for you. In Spanish, nothing is nada, which is two syllables which can be separated, but either one by itself doesn't mean anything. German, it's one syllable, nicht or nicht. But American English has the phenomenon of the compound word. Nothing can be broken into no thing. And the no thing is not the same thing as nothing, to which you were shaking your head. There was a being before the beginning. That being is who made the beginning. The being behind Genesis. But that being is literally no thing. And asking the question and getting that answer, you come up with new, never before realized knowledge, which is that the maker, whether you want to call him the creator, God, whatever name you try to hang on it, will not stick. Because as you know from American English, every noun, which can be a subject of a sentence, is a person, place, or thing. Even proper nouns like names, it's still a thing. And just a moment. And the maker is no thing. You have a question?
I do.
Go ahead.
Are you suggesting esoterica embedded in American English?
No, I'm saying that American English simply reflects the situation and allows one to see it. Truth is truth.
I'm not quite sure, but I think that's what I asked.
Okay, well then, if that means the same thing as what you asked, then the answer would be yes, but I don't think it means the same thing. Now you're talking semantics, and it depends what language and how you interpret it. See, meaning is not in words or people. Meaning comes out of the higher planes and then is encoded into messages that are transmitted. Yes?
Do you believe that there is a correspondence, whether it's one-to-one or otherwise, between language and reality?
Probably my answer would be no. Because language reflects reality, but is not the same thing.
Should have been a cheat picture.
See, if you
I could have been if I
let me give you a quick drawing of cosmology as I understand it, you have something called a second grand division. This is a dividing line between what is commonly called the material worlds, physical, next plane up, astral plane. You know, those who have near-death experiences sometimes get to see it. Some recognize what goes on in their dreams. The next one up is the mind plane. Our government a few years back finally admitted to spending $20 million on research into remote viewing in the intelligence community. Remote viewing operates out of this level of existence. But all three together are what some of the Eastern religions refer to as the material worlds, or in the yin-yang inverted teardrop. Everything in relation to its opposite, positive, negative, from here on down, material universes. Above that point, there is pure positive oneness. Those are the true heavens, the plane of the soul, the place from which we all come, and other various levels of heaven. So there's a marked difference between these areas and these areas. Now, language does not even originate until you get past this division and into the areas of mind. That is where language arises. So language can, at best, only reflect concepts that are coming from higher up. So, as far as the first question, what was before the beginning? The answer fired by some people from the hip, nothing. And I go ding, 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 correct answer. Because if you break it, you get the compound word and components of no thing. And in answering the question that way, and when I got to defining real questions, they have to be questions which provide you with concepts never before entertained. And in the answer of no thing, you now are introduced to a concept never before looked at, which is that the maker, the being that was there before the beginning, cannot be named. Once you name it, you make of it a thing, person, place, or thing. And the maker is literally no thing. Yes?
Well, you're coming from the premise that there is a maker who created.
Yeah.
And my own feeling is that
Your feeling.
Okay, I spent a lot of time thinking, I do
Okay,
this, and this is the way I express myself, you have to learn to live with it.
No.
At least for the next
no, I
hour.
don't. But if we were going to debate
It
it,
can either be.
if we're going to debate, let's save it for the end.
It can either
Let it go
be-
here.
It can either be that no thing pushed the button to start it, or the universe started from the Big Bang because of a simple chemical reaction from
Sure.
whatever was before.
Sure, that's been argued all through
no
history.
thing does it.
That's been argued all through
But
human
that's not a
history.
maker.
But we're talking
Yeah.
ideas. These are concepts originate here, and you argue them. What I'm talking about comes from experiences in the levels much higher that I had to go through before I could even write the book in the first place.
So what would be your next question? Because I would like to hear a little more of that.
Okay. Well, the final answer that comes out of that first one is that the maker cannot even be named. And that's one of the reasons why when Moses asks of the burning bush, who are you? The answer that he gets is, I am that I am. Because you cannot name the maker. The moment you name it, you brought it down into the level of thing. And it is way out here beyond all of this and cannot even be named.
You consider yourself a theist? Yes.
I consider myself one who practices a way.
The Tao?
No. My chosen form of practice is known as the religion of the light and sound of God, or Eckankar.
Oh,
I've heard of
okay.
it, yeah.
But the writings that I put into my book are not even the Eckankar teachings. They are places I've gone beyond even what I've been taught, which do not contradict them. They enlarge upon them. There are things I learned while writing this book that are not even in the Eckankar books. And when I learned one of them, I went to one of my dearest friends who was part of the Eckankar clergy at the time, and I said, "This is what I came up with. What do you think?" She says, "Sounds right to me, but you will not find it in any of the..." It's the sixth question in my book. It's a very esoteric question.
Where is that question?
Okay. In the physical universe, we know that matter has three states: solid, liquid, gas. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
And any matter can be altered in its state of being into any of the other ones. Any liquid can be made solid or gas. Any gas can be made liquid or solid.
Except for carbon dioxide.
Not true. Go to your store and buy some dry ice. That's solidified CO2.
Show me, please, the liquid form of carbon dioxide.
Okay, maybe there is no liquid form.
Yeah, there is. It's on one of
My,
the moons of
Richard,
something or another.
My great-grandfather invented the ice making, dry ice making.
I may not be aware of it, and it may have gone right to solid, but the point is that you can transition the state of matter through all three states.
Including energy.
Energy is not one of the states of matter. In any event, three states of matter: solid, liquid, gas. Those who have done any exploration of what we are at this level, or souls, come across the concepts of there being two kinds of souls. That's not taught in any religion I know of other than in Eckankar. But the question I had to put into my book, and its answer, are not even among the concepts taught in Eckankar. There are two kinds of souls. There are the manifested soul, one that goes through reincarnation and gaining in wisdom and advancement, one like you or I. We live lifetimes. But there is the unmanifested soul, and that is the building block of all solid matter. What science tends to call inorganic matter, there is no such thing as inorganic matter. Because even the metal in struts like this is made up of myriads of souls. But those souls are so lacking in conscious self-awareness that the only way that they can fully manifest here on the physical plane is to come in groups and share the experience. So there is the unmanifested soul and the manifested soul. I was aware of those concepts in the training that I went through in Eckankar. The question that I was told to put in my book was, how does an unmanifested one like this alter and become one like you or I and go through the reincarnation and up the ladder? And my answer to the one who posed it to me was, I never in my 21 years of training thought of that question, and I don't know the answer to it, and I'm not putting rhetorical questions into my book.